There is something that could be happening right now, but it's not happening out of sight. A lot of people seem to be realizing it. Nothing lasts forever except in our memories. I wrote the quote down. That is a quote from my favorite movie poster of all time, which is A River Runs Through It. It hung on my wall as a kid. I had the movie poster long before I ever saw the movie. That's how much I love the movie poster. Google it. A River Runs Through It. Great movie poster. It's just a guy fly fishing in the middle of Montana. And there's a quote on the poster that says, "Nothing perfect lasts forever except in our memory." I got some Clemson friends that had been a little delusional to the point that they didn't think that applied to them. They were the exception to the rule. Clemson was always going to soar at 50,000 feet above the sport. They were few and far between. I'm not saying every Clemson fan thought that. Well, if you did, you have crashed back to reality pretty quickly here. Now, in reality, nothing that just happened in 2021 spells total disaster for Clemson. There have been years where Alabama didn't win their own conference. There's been a year where Alabama didn't go to the playoff. What did they do the next year? They had, I would argue, the greatest season in the history of Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama. So in and of itself, just the fact that Clemson didn't go to the ACC title game this last year, that doesn't mean anything. There are some warning signs, plural, around this program right now that leads me to ask the question that you see on the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Could ACC supremacy be up for grabs? Because make no mistake, Clemson's still the best program in the ACC. But by a margin, at the moment, they're still the best program in the ACC. Just because they didn't win the title this past year, that just means they weren't the best team. That's still the best program. A program takes a lot longer than 1 year to make, and normally a lot more than 1 year to just destroy. But Dabo Swinney did something that we talked about last week. It's now confirmed. He did choose to promote from within for offensive coordinator, and he chose to promote from within at defensive coordinator. I don't think that this is the right move for him. I think it's a mistake. Philosophically, I think it's a mistake. This is nothing against Streeter. It's nothing against Goodwin. It's nothing against either of those guys. The unique situation that Clemson has been in, the stagnation, the staleness of the program, I really thought it was imperative that Dabo Swinney brought some outside flavor in, some fresh blood in. He knows his program better than me. Okay, I don't question the play calling. I don't really question hires either. I'm telling you, I do have a strong feeling on this, that it was not the right move for him. But he gets paid a lot of money for a reason. They finished number 17 for early signing day. Recruiting process not over, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. They're number 17 right now. They're not even top 2 in their conference. So I want you to think about what we're talking about. Losing coordinators, high-level coordinators, long-time coordinators, losing an athletic director, not having any bite in recruiting this year, having several decommits, big decommits down the stretch, having transfer portal, not a mass exodus, but a couple of guys leave. Any one of these things can be overcome. When I ball them all up and I throw it at you, it could hurt you. And this could hurt Clemson. And as I said, even when they were at the height of their run, enjoy it, because the conference is not going to sit still. Now, it may be inferior to you at the moment, 2018, 19. It may have been inferior to you, but it wasn't sitting still. North Carolina wasn't sitting still. Miami right now is not sitting still. Florida State was not sitting still. Neither of the Virginia schools are sitting still. Yesterday, we come out of early signing day. Florida State has the 13th ranked team or ranked signing class in the country. North Carolina had the 8th ranked signing class in the country. Clemson, again, 17. Miami hired Mario Cristobal. Let me give you a bold prediction. Miami will finish top 10 in recruiting this next year. Will Clemson? In fact, who would you put your money on? Who would you be more confident in when it comes to bringing in a more impressive signing class 1 year from yesterday? Would it be Miami or would it be Clemson? Would it be North Carolina or would it be Clemson? Here's what's happening. I want to reemphasize. Any one given year does not an implosion make. But what's happening is their talent gap is not widening anymore. It was widening for a while. It's not widening anymore. Now the process of that talent gap shrinking a little bit more and more every day is starting to happen, not nationally, but even in their own conference. And so no longer, especially against these programs, are they waltzing into stadiums knowing they have a 3-touchdown edge on you just in terms of sheer raw talent. Could still be better. They're not going to have that insurmountable talent edge where the helmet gets thrown out on the field and that's what beats you. They may not have the coaching edge either. Because, listen, hats off to Streeter, hats off to Goodwin if they get it done. They are unknowns right now. Unknown commodities trying to replace head coaching caliber coordinators in Tony Elliott and Brenton Venables. and guys that were staples of the program for a long time. Cade Klubnik is the quarterback that they signed yesterday, and DJ Uiagalelei was so underwhelming last year that people are asking whether Cade Klubnik can come in and start this year, start next year, can come in and start as a true freshman. So that most important position is in a state of flux. Offense and defense, unproven coordinators elevated from within a program that's been very stagnant for a couple of years now. Recruiting has taken an absolute dip. That layer of kind of invincibility, the Clemson curtain of no one ever decommits from here and no one ever leaves from here, well, that's eroded away a little bit too. What's the conference going to look like coming up in the next 2 to 4 years? Because this past year can be made to be forgotten about if Clemson just restores order and they march right to Charlotte and win the ACC and they go to the playoff next year. You have one more year like you just had, you see panic now, you'd see total freakout if that happened. Because then we would have all these worries affirmed, and at that point, would you look at Dabo Swinney and say, that's the guy I still trust to have all the answers? Boy, 2022, in case you haven't noticed, very imperative. Sort of an inflection year, not a point, but an inflection year. I know there's going to be an assumption now. The assumption is going to be that Tiger Paw will rebound. You are not going to see that Tiger Paw have 2 down years. When Alabama had a relatively speaking, a down year in 2019, I was overly confident in saying that about them coming into 2020. I am not nearly that confident. And I spoke to several folks over the past 3 days that are in positions to know. And the overall consensus in the industry is Clemson has never been this vulnerable. That's the overall consensus in the coaching industry, and that's the consensus in the media industry is what it is. You may or may not care about that, but the coaching, the folks who are working, coach ball for a living, they also feel that way. We'll see. We'll see. I wrap up many segments with we'll see.